Sounds good to me.
So thanks so much for joining us with this amazing episode featuring Pierre Joris and Nicole Peyrafitte. I think you will be amazed, amused, staggered, flabbergasted, and perhaps sometime needing an extra cocktail. Either way, hold on to your seats, trim your beards, make sure your mustaches are well curled, and we shall commence. And first, we're going to hear from one of our co-founders, Jonathan Penton. And I'm going to just give you a little bit of a rundown about Jonathan before he reads a single poem. Jonathan founded unlikelystories.org, an electronic journal of literature and art, in 1998. Since then, he has led artistic and editorial and management assistance to a number of literary music ventures, including Mad Hat Inc., the New Orleans Poetry Festival, Rigorous, and Big Bridge. In 2005, he founded Unlikely Books, which publishes 3 to 5 books of poetry a year. He's organized literary performances and performed himself across the United States, pretty much every state. His poetry books are Last Chap, Blood and Salsa and Painting Rust, Prosthetic Gods, and Standard of City, which just came out in 2016 from Litfest Press. And recently, the free eChap backstories, which you can download from Argotist ebooks. I'd love to hear from you, Jonathan, tonight.
Thank you, Mark. I'd love to speak, but I'm not going to read one of my own poems today. Today, I'd like to read from a book that Unlikely Books published this year. It's by Anne Elizabeth Pluto. The book is called The Deepest Part of Dark, and this is Anne Elizabeth Pluto's poem, East 16th Street, for her mother. You remain present always, without malice now. Deeply buried, you don't appear in my dreams, as once you promised. I miss hearing you speak, hearing you bless each journey, the worry in your voice ringing through me to navigate a precarious childhood. There is no replacement for you, no exchange of heart alike, no journey back home. Last month, I traveled to this beginning. I passed the street where we had been family, where you lived out your last 7 years, where I packed and sold, donated, and put aside your worldly possessions. I went to the small supermarket to find what could bring you back, what I would buy for remembrance. Everything said your name out loud, how happy I would have been to see you, to touch through your transparency, to have told you how unspeakable the idea that you are truly gone. And again, that was by Anne Elizabeth Pluto. All right, I'd like to introduce our friend Mark. Mark Vincennes is an Anglo-Swiss Anglo-Swiss poet. He's not a poem, he's actually a poet, a fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He has published 14 books of poetry, including more recently Becoming the Sound of Bees, Leaning into the Infinite, The Syndicate of Water and Light, and Here Comes the Night Dust. His newest collection, The Little Book of Earthly Desires, and a novella set in ancient China, 3 Tao's of Tao, or How to Catch a Fortuitous Elephant, are both forthcoming in 2021 from Spiked and Dival. An album of music, Left Hand Clapping, is also forthcoming from Tree Torn Records. He's also a prolific translator and has translated from the German, Romanian, and French. He's published 10 books of translations, most recently Unexpected Development by Klaus Merz, which was a finalist for the 2016 Cliff Becker Book Prize in Translation. His poems have been published in many journals, including The Nation, Plowshares, Los Angeles Review, and Plume. His work has received fellowships and grants from the Swiss Arts Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Winter Benner Foundation for Poetry. He's the editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. He's lived all over the world, from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in the peak in Hong Kong, but now lives on a farm in rural Western Massachusetts, where there are more coyotes and bears than people. Mark, will you read a poem for us?
Absolutely. This is called I Was Always on an Aeroplane, and it's from a collection I've been working on, which is called There Might Be a Moon or a Dog. I was always on an aeroplane. So was my old man. He loved the caipirinhas in Rio on a Friday night, the fried dumplings in Lanzhou, the roller skating on friendly piers in Brighton or Folkestone, that sitting on the hood of a Jaguar somewhere in the south of France, and the girls, always the girls. He sought an alliance in his red wine glass over Brizagos or Davidoffs, across the bar from Gina Lollobrigida, playing eyes. And the hard wind from the Gobi Desert powered in at the Zhengguo Hotel in Peking, in the gardens and the fountains, replenished by a corporation in the Melbourne Hills. And he loved wandering the crays and gullies and outcrops. Even later, when much had been seen, he loved feeling the mud in his boot, hiding behind cows to dodge bulls, leaping fences, and no matter how tall. Ah, and the glory in the fall, or the rattle of the 747 at 10,000 feet or more. He was vulgar and noble. He wanted to boldly go, but the mythical kingdom was out of his reach. To him, a griffin was a cocktail in the bar at the Waldorf Astoria before it was bought by the Chinese. In every family's bed, there might be a moon or a dog, or in the inkwell, on that old desk in the basement, atoms from the incident at Chamonix, from the savage debasement on the edge of the known world, of the fireflies of the Claire de Lis. The daily papers say what they say. But in the darkness of the barracks, somewhere in Heilongjiang, as you sip on your Pabst Blue Ribbon, thanking the soldiers for their indecision, for their inquisition into the nature of pubic hair, is the head an indicator? Or the housefly buzzing in the cracks, or the crowds in the light outside gathered concerning a certain dictator who has his perpetuum mobile, the five-star general on Easter with his marches, the love letters tossed from the balconies. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have our special feature of the evening, which includes Pierre Joris and his wife, Nicole Peyrafitte. Pierre has moved between Europe, the US, and North Africa for some 55 years now, publishing over 70 books of poetry, essays, translations, anthologies, most recently Foxtrailed Tales and Trots, Poems and Proses from Black Fountain Press. The translations Memory Rose into Threshold Speech, the collected earlier poetry of Paul Celan from FSG, and Microlith's posthumous prose of Paul Celan from Contra Mundum Press. Also this year he published A City Full of Voices, essays on the work of Robert Kelly, co-edited with Peter Kockelberg and Joel Neuberger from CMP, and earlier Arabia, Not So Deserta, essays from Spuyten Duyvil Press. Conversations in the Pyrenees with Adonis from CMP, and The Book of You, poems with Nicole Peyrafitte, editions Simonici, 2017. When Pierre is not on the road, he lives in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, with his wife, the multimedia practicienne Nicole Peyrafitte. And Nicole Peyrafitte is a pluridisciplinary artist born in the French Pyrenees. Recent representations include the 11 Women of Spirit at Salon Zürcher from New York City in February 2021. Gallery Simonici in Luxembourg will feature a multi-tier exhibition with performances or cartistic actions featuring her longtime collaborator, Pierre Joris. Her recent films and videos are Pierre Joris Reads Celan, Robert Kelly, A Celebration from 2020, both of those, and Things Fall Where They Lie, a documentary feature film shot in a Pinerian hometown and starring the late Steve Delachinsky and Yuko Otomo. Most of them are available on her website, NicolePeyrafitte.com films. Recent publications include Carnet 1 and 2 from Red Fox Press in Ireland, Landscopes 2018, and Bivalve, Vulvic Space, Vulvic Knowledge from Pain Plage in 2016. She also has a very interesting compilation of cooking videos. Have a look at NicolePeyrafitte.com/COVID-19 live cooking videos. And for more, visit her website at NicolePeyrafitte.com. Welcome, Pierre and Nicole.
Welcome to you guys, to everybody.
Should we start your videos now?
Nope, not right out. We have to say something.
We will say something. So a
thank
dedication.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. You were supposed to say that.
Oh, I was supposed to say that. Thank you for having us, Jonathan and Mark.
Thank you.
So we are right now in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, the land of the Lenape people who have been dispossessed of their homeland, a forced displacement, starting with the European discovery. The Lenape are an offspring of the Algonquin civilization. They spoke Munsee. All of us here remember, reflect, mark, resist, persist, assist to combat erasure. Here we go. We can go on with the videos. Thank you. So it's going to be 15 minutes of videos. Then I come back and read. Then we have a little more videos, and then Pierre.
I'll read at the end.
Me désuffire. Il faut m'appliquer et m'habituer à prendre conscience que ma nature n'est ni vraie ni constitutive. Se passer des autres n'est pas le propos. Se suffire non plus. Je témoigne en qualité de simple féminincule piégé qui avait grande hâte de sortir du four qui la cuite. Irrévérente, peut-être. Néanmoins, je m'incline sur la reconnaissance collective. Et si l'idée de l'âme doit rester abstraite, alors peindre l'âme est engendré, pas créé. Je répète, peindre l'âme est engendré, pas créé. Pour qui, pourquoi décrire la figure? Ici, l'expression répétée d'une création primitive n'est pas imitation ni impulsion. Ici, l'expression répétée d'une création primitive n'est ni imitation ni impulsion d'abstraction, ni impulsion d'abstraction. Mais un moulage formateur. Un moulage formateur et une plasticité de l'action par et pour elle-même. Cette action est une aspiration inspirée, instinctive et intuitive. D'ailleurs, elle n'est ni suffisante, ni adéquate, ni compétente, mais elle se prête à elle-même. Elle ne me comble pas, mais elle me désuffit. Oui, elle me désuffit. Ici, la volition est une action homo-sapienne intégrale. Une ovulation pigmentée et kinesthésique, fécondée par les capacités de l'équilibre corporel. Mais ça, on n'a pas encore vu ça. Moi, rat de métal rouge, pratique l'équilibre. Moi, rat de métal rouge, appréhende le temps et fait confiance aux incertitudes. Les incertitudes créatives sur la une des news et sur mes limites augmentées. Dans le présent fait homme. Moi, ras de métal rouge, réclame mes temporalités parmi les ruines. Et on pourrait parler ici de ruines prospères, où les symbioses mycorhiziennes forment des récits dans et avec les particularités et aussi dans les contradictions. Le rat de métal rouge n'attend pas le salut. Vous attendez le salut, vous? Pas moi. Je cherche l'équilibre. Et aussi, comme rat de métal rouge, je préfère contempler mes responsabilités. In English, responsibilities.
Diary notes, March-May 2020. A shelter is not necessarily an island. As title for something cogent right now comes to mind and brings to mind Eric Mottram's 1971 book title, Shelter Island and the Remaining World. So now is shelter the opposite of the remaining world? When the remaining world, helter-skelter, late 16th century adverb, a rhyming jingle of unknown origin, perhaps symbolic of running feet or of Middle English skelt, to hasten, or not. No, shelter is island. Island is always plural, is always already part of some multiplicity, an archipelago, a series of sound groups, a local thrush, chickadees at their red plastic spinning bins, active for dark brown, striped white sunflower seeds, gulls white crab, and cree low over wrinkling shore plains. Here now, our oyster catchers. I know my dreams are unreal, but they are my dreams. 321. The silver water surface. Love it. Don't step on it. March 23rd. We took you, hawk, for a red tail. Very sorry you were and are a pooper, even with an oyster catcher flowing over my head, crying right now, even though probably immature. Outside, sun caught in bare tree branches, cradled. Inside, me caught in shelter in place, cradled too. P.S. we shall both rise again. March 29th. Waiting for the reboot. Turn to the window. Comfort, not yet in sight. April 12th. So in the last dream, Derrida comes down the majestic red carpeted staircase just before day breaks, and with a large smile and an even more expansive wave of his left arm, the other rests on the banister, gives the order for the gerrymandering to stop. I can't be sure how this one links to the long black and white dream just before. Only a quick piece separates them, in which I talked lengthily to various politicians and a few pundits, me included it seems, about the evil of gerrymandering, and we're all absolutely certain, as certain as one can only be in a dream, that our lives depend on ending that terrifying trend. And now that I woke up for good, I would really like to go back into the last one and ask Jacques if his gesture meant to begin or to end what the dream proposed. But I can't. The sun has risen behind me, where I can't see it, but I do see its reflection in front of me, reddening the East Coast, west of Fear and on Staten Island, just across the Verrazano Straits. Much more quiet today, these waters, not half as royal as yesterday, or as my dreams make me today. Oh, where's he now? Yeah. But closer to the essential. Steve-O, we should have met back there, run into each other back when, 69, 70, 71, but didn't, or we did, but didn't know who we were. Too stoned maybe to look out, stuck inside, not only the big shitty, but our own young selves. Selvas oscuras, if you permit me to quote that obscure Italian Dante in the East Village psycho-delicatessens jungle under growth and ground. And right here I am again coming from Puerto Rico imports with my twice 1.5 pounds coffee beans underarm and crossing over to the northeast corner of 2nd and St. Mark's on the late summer, early evening, and didn't think of going to sit down, but here, yes, here to be here, that music here.
Everybody can hear?
I can hear you. Mhm.
Okay, so now it's going to be the portrait, my reading portion. And let me see, I have to share my screen. But first, I want to play this. I'm going to put it, play in window. Do it fast because I don't want to mess it up. And then I want to do it. See que je mets le full screen. Full screen. And now I'm sharing. Okay, I had to do a little preparation here. Do you have, yes. Okay, when I read in French, the translation will be on the screen. So this is part of really the process, how everything starts very often is drawings on my notebooks, and then I extract the text or make text from that, and sometimes video. So this is an example. Are the videos on? Do you guys have them? Yeah. L'échappée temporelle requiert l'arrachement au temps présent. This is for Chris Marker. Une jetée. Un voyage provoqué pour trouver le temps au milieu des bêtes éternelles. Si le passé et l'avenir deviennent le futur et que je suis dans le présent, alors je dois décaper le musée de ma mémoire. L'avenir semble mieux défendu que le passé, mais on ne s'évade pas du temps et les statues meurent aussi. Nulla dies sine linea, today, with Paul Klee. Poupée, not purple puppet, virgin dream, decubed vocabulary, comicer inventions, leaf reconstitution, comedy in the fields, preceded by flowers in the wind. If man is God's mouth, then l'homme-alarm. 1922, also my father's birth year. Adam und Evchen have been assigned specific roles showing sexual transformations of various perversities with brown peaks and mauve triangles, reverse reality, watercolors, chalked oil, and feathers chalk prime, transferred with gauze oil, glued on cardboard, intuitive approach, Höhlenblüten, orgasmic caves, flowers, satirical hook, line berties, a gracious proximity, soleil noir, metamorphosis arrow, pendulum plant, oder Urpflanze in the staircase, the persecuted Pierrot, birdgeist, avian spirit, alter Klang, color of primordial sound, highways and byways, form, celestial strata, and impressive cocktail of constructive freedom, subversive explosions and uncompressed conflict sprays on the serpent's path to conjure infinity. For Pierre Joris, Tumbleweed. Afin de compléter et de célébrer 30 ans ensemble, toujours en quête de sagesse fortuite pour le voyage à venir, la sauge blanche témoigne des soulèvements par le gel au milieu des vieilles machines abandonnées et du chardon russe. Oui, les tumbleweeds, 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 les icônes sont envahissantes. Ici, voiture culbute près du magique réservoir. N'allez pas croire que la foi aide à la condition humaine. Non, mon copilote, c'est toi, Pierre, pas Jésus. Les tiges se détachent des racines. C'est comme ça aussi que je suis arrivée ici. Touch me not. Je crache le morceau. et parle comme une graine de lin contaminé. Les commuages n'est pas recommandé. Je prospère dans les sites perturbés. Une éloge invisible. Reste à l'écart des paysages laboratoires. Ils génèrent de la métaphore pathos, des métaphores self-disculpantes, favorisent symbolique et mythologie en porte-pièce. Il est préférable de se promener dans les rondes sorcières, respirer les mycorhizes, pour mieux entendre ce que susurre le mycélium. Les idées peuvent alors se tisser dans un tissu fongique évolutif extra- et pluricellulaire. Cette absorbotrophie facilite la symbiose des secrets, du sacré, pour parler avec et non pour les arbres et autres flores. Oui, j'en conviens, c'est admirablement incongru, mais si délicieux. So the next one is in solidarity and trying to learn radical empathy. So as there is really enough of police brutality and killing of Black and brown and Native people, and defunding the police, especially in NYC, is essential. The word defunding might not be, you know, what some liberals don't want to hear, so they should find a sexier word maybe, but just to keep in mind, the Portugal defense expenditure, it's 10 for 10 million people is 2.5 billion in dollars in 2020. The New York Police Department is for 8 million people is $6 billion, their operating budget. Indeed, 1 billion is supposed to be shifted, but I have no trust in a police department that is 80% of their members belong to a union that officially endorsed the despicable Trump. So as Brian Stevenson, the lawyer and founder of Equal Justice Initiative says, we cannot build our safety on punishment. 1, a neck under your knee. You press, you press, you press, you press for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, a neck under your knee. You press, you crush the skin, the muscles, the nerves, the veins. Whose? Say his name. George Floyd. Say his name. George Floyd. Under your knee, gasping for air, calling, mama, mama, panting, they'll kill me, they'll kill me. And you did. You crushed him under your knee. They'll kill me, they'll kill me. He knew it. He felt it under your knee, slowly asphyxiated under your knee, your hands in your pockets, your shades on your head. You crushed a man under your knee. His mouth foams, his blood turns blue. George Perry Floyd, blue, 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 not police blue, not royal blue, police dead blue under your knee, slowly asphyxiated under your knee, your hands in your pockets, your shades on your head. You crushed a man under your knee. His mouth foams, his blood turns blue. George Perry Floyd, blue, 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 not police blue, not royal blue, police dead blue under your knee. You crushed a man, Derek Chauvin, 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 Chauvin. Your French name, an eponym of chauvinism, excessive nationalistic violent fervor and bigotry. Nicolas Chauvin was a legendary and possibly apocryphal French soldier. But you, Derek Chauvin, you are not a fictional character. 18 complaints already documented in your official files. You and so many other chauvinist pegs, strutting on the thin blue line, your hands in your pockets, full of thick blue lies. Under your knee, his mouth foams white. Under your knee, his blood turns blue. George Perry Floyd, blue, 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 abducted life, police dead, blue. You crushed George Perry Floyd, bigot Chauvin, your case will not be closed. 2. Genuflection, substantation, transformation. George Perry Floyd, George Perry Floyd, instant pupa, rises from hate, splits from the scene, a colony of Adonis blue butterflies takes wing, pollinates the great reveal, seeks justice, searches for peace. There is no end to this poem. George Perry Floyd, Adonis blue, plant a watchman in my heart. Thank you. So I'll turn it to Pierre now. And let me stop sharing the screen. Stop share. Okay?
We will start with 2 little videos. Both concern Paul Celan, who I finished translating. The first one is somewhat older, or the second one is somewhat older and is about Berlin. The first one is a recent one, has me sleeping in the Pyrenees in front of a flower, and a Celan poem. The second one, which I think rhymes with Nicole's last poem, is about Celan's poem about the murder of Rosa Luxemburg.
It starts with that one.
It starts with that one. Whichever way we go. There it is. Enjoy the videos. I'll be back afterwards for some poems live. You lie in the great listening, ambushed, snowed in. Go to the Spree, go to the Havel, go to the butcher hooks, to the red apple steaks from Sweden. Here comes the table with the presents. He turns around in Eden. The man became a sieve, the woman had to swim the sow for herself, for no one, for everyone. The Landwehrkanal will not roar. Nothing stops.
Colchique, colchique, colchique dans les prés, fleurissent, fleurissent, c'est la fin de l'été.
Remembrance of France. You think with me. The sky of Paris, the great autumn crocus. We bought hearts from the flower girls. They were blue and flowered in the water. It started to rain in our room, and our neighbor came, Monsieur Le Songe, a thin little man. We played cards. I lost the pupils of my eyes. You lent me your hair. I lost it. He beat us down. He left through the door. The rain followed him. We were dead and could breathe. A poem by Paul Celan.
Colchique, colchique, colchique dans les prés, fleurissent, fleurissent, c'est la fin de l'été.
And if I'm back on live?
We are.
I am. Okay. Thank you, Nicole, for all those videos you made for me. There you are.
I have to change your
Hold on. We need,
background.
okay. We'll have one little.
And Jonathan is doing an amazing job of putting the videos.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Well done, well done. As
Yeah,
always with
so
videos on Zoom and so on, there can be a slight delay between sound and image. But
Right.
here we go. As some of you know, I'm finishing 54 years of translating Paul Celan. And I'll start this little reading with two poems for Celan. To PC, Paul, if I may, I brought you here to another black soil earth, cousin to, I hope, the black soil of Chernovitz, the meridians of, because in us humans never travel in straight lines. They stutter, wander off the straight and narrow, bending some breaking into tomorrow's blood-rich marrow. Earlier today, I saw an old atlas floating down the Verrazano Narrows, which had nothing or something to do with my surprise later today seeing a footnote that defined Celan as translator and poet Paul Celan in Claudia Rankine's Don't Let Me Be Lonely, page 143, and goes on, committed suicide in 1970, floating down the Seine for so many years, my atlas. I wrote a birthday poem, which I'll read for Robert Kelly, and you'll see why it fits in here. Dear Robert, I wake up in pre-dawn Brooklyn, make water, heat water, squeeze lemon, crush homegrown at Joseph's on 68 between 3rd and Ridge, peppers, cayenne, make first pot of coffee, Peruvian organic medium roast in orange French press thermos, look out, windy, rain, while we slept, heavy colored dreams we tell us we had but don't remember anymore. Take the hot lemon and coffee to Nicole, finishing this past Sunday's New York Times in bed. Take my cups to my study, remembering last night's sweet Mets win in Washington, but really listening as I have since I got up to France Culture, where Olivier Cadio, speaking of his new Shakespeare translation, playing right now in a mise en scène of Thomas Ostermeyer at the Comédie Française, says, il n'y a pas de vers français pour accueillir le vers shakespearien aujourd'hui, which I think is totally accurate. As I put cup on desk, my poor first coffee turned to look out at white-capped waves. Nothing Melvillian, just normal fall adjustment. Can't yet see the anchored ships, the leaves still all on the trees in the Narrows Botanical Garden across Shore Road. Wind tires or tortures them, or tries to, at least shakes them without sparing them. So a big white, incongruous light shine through every so often, all the way from Staten Island, while all the way from wherever I was in my sleep to this moment of opening the red notebook and unscrewing the black sailor fountain pen, I have really thought of nothing else than that this day is your birthday, Robert. Many happy returns. Joyeux anniversaire. Alles Gute before I turn in a minute, right after sending this off to you, from Celan's Niemandsrose to its last 3 poems that remain to be translated, so that on this your birthday I may finish what I started in Annandale 51 years ago under your guidance. I raise my, by now second, cup of Peruvian to you, dear friend. And by the way, for Robert's 85th birthday this year, Nicole made a video with a reading of Robert's and an interview without questions, and that you can see on Nicole's website. First manifesto of the day. The poet's job is to pick up everything that shines, discard the gold, keep the light. Shipping out at 1:25 p.m. on Herman Melville's 200th birthday, i.e. August 1st, 2019. Heaven's Gate is headed for Whitehall at 16.7 knots. Atlantis is headed for New York Harbor at 8.4 knots. Owl's Head is headed to New York, New York at 22.8 knots. Atlantic Compass is heading for US NYC at 15.5 knots. Spirit of America is headed more or less towards Staten Island at 16.9 knots. Then again, is headed nowhere at 4.4 knots. Thomas Jefferson rests at Weehawken, New Jersey Pier number 79 at 0.2 knots. Anthem of the Sea heads towards King's Wharf, Bermuda at 0 knots. Jewel of the Harbor is hiding under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Spirit of New Jersey is headed to Town Point Park at 7 knots. Paradigm is heading somewhere at 8.3 knots, visible from my window. Henry Hudson is doing a harbor cruise at 4.2 knots. Alandra, Corello, and Nancy P. rest near Constable Hook. Celestial is heading north at 5.5 knots. Memories Made lies at 0 knots in Edgewater. Dana Alexa is headed for Bay Ridge Flats at 1.6 knots. BW Rhine is headed NL RTM at 0.4 knots. Radiant Pride is headed nowhere at 0.0 knots. Destiny was traveling at 6.2 knots to an unknown destination 10 minutes ago. Guano apoptosis. Before the ghost cargo appeared, you pointed, silently smiling, 2 fingers in V-shape I looked at, then thinking better of it, looked through these, or as their shape, an aim-taking device, and saw one quick, thin black streak turned into 2 just above the water. You and me, you said. I'm the one up front. You added, yes, I joked, you are, but I'll catch up with you at the post. Those were the first 2 cormorants of July. There would be 1 more higher up, 2 more going south. Coming back, 3 were sitting on the water and diving. One of them, the one in the middle, brings up a good-sized fish and swallows it, and us thinking and you saying, wow, that was a big fish indeed. And I add, look how it drinks water now to help wash it all down. And you, as we walk on, wonder exactly how and differently from other animal processes the cormorants broke down those fish, arrived unchewed and whole in their stomachs to produce that major guano the Phalacrococosidae familia is rightly famous for, and you surmise that maybe the fish lend a hand, I mean a fin, by somehow helping advance their own decomposition, which puzzles me a bit till I thought of Michel Serres' word apoptosis, the small death, elementary suicide of cell, organ, and organism, from the name the Greeks gave the fall of leaves in autumn, a fourth death, a word I gave you when we got home and which you are now working with in the context of our essay on the colonization of the island of Alcatraz, another confused bird matter, while I try here now just to get the facts of the morning walk down in these no longer so equal length lines, in the hope that on rereading I can clarify them, as one says of butter, into yet another cormorant celebration. And I will close with a kind of second manifesto in two parts. The ecological question solved as a two-gun attack on a three-headed problem. One, as below, haiku for the end of the world. Gaia world, sapiens, not so sapiens. Boom, kaboom. Two, so above, trigonometry of the Trinity. And the Lord, having rested from his labors, sat up, looked around, and seeing how his creatures had fucked up his creation, raised his hand and put a bullet through his head. Thus, the third eye came to be, the first and only one. It oozes, ooze, out of which may or may not, somewhere, sometime, somehow, merde ooze, the three again, come newt life. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre and Nicole. That was amazing, staggering, wondrous. And well, thank you so much for reading for us and those amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Very much.
Treat.
And now we'll move on to our open mic section, and I think Jonathan's going to take over for us here, right?
Sounds good. We have 2 people signed up for the open mic so far. So if you'd like to be in the open mic, just drop something in the chat. And we can do 3 more people, I guess. And we're going to start with John Wezek. As soon as I find his name. All right, John.
Okay, very good. Hey, that was really cool. I enjoyed it very much. So I read these pop psychology articles that say a positive message is better than a negative one to change people's minds. So here is my humble attempt. It's called A Taco Truck on Every Corner. And it starts with an epigraph from Marco Gutierrez of Latinos for Trump. And Gutierrez says, my culture is a very dominant culture and it's imposing and it's causing problems. If you don't do something about it, you're going to have taco trucks on every corner. Taste the America that still can be, where brown hands and smiling faces save your late night morning with flour tortillas dipping in butter. Flavors and syllables roll off the tongue: chorizo, adobo, pico de gallo, carne asada, al pastor, huevos rancheros, chile relleno. Not on every block, but maybe every square mile, a Korean fusion truck with its K-taco, bulgogi beef, kimchi, and sweet, fiery gochujang. Diversity sets the best table. Pillowy Ethiopian injera, Vietnamese banh mi, melding Asian and European flavors on French bread, pad thai, chicken and waffles, the Cuban sandwich, gyros, baba ganoush, shawarma, sushi, tempura, samosas, lumpia, biryani, General Tso's chicken. Did I forget Italy? Who can imagine lives without pizza, lasagna, and Chianti? America, your banquet awaits. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We're all hungry now. All right, next up is Cindy Hockman. Unmute Cindy.
Okay, I've unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, good. That was amazing, Pierre and Nicole. I needed that. It's my type of stuff, and I loved it. This poem is a very short prose poem called Telling You Everything, and it starts with an epigraph by Charles Simic, who said, "Be brief and tell us everything." So I will. I am all moan and bone and dangling participles. My body is hamstrung and jagged. These days, I'm becoming nothing but chocolate bars and razor blades. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. All right, next up we have F.J. Bergman.
Poem is titled Agents of Change. I never questioned what he was doing in the dream. Wait, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, I'm sorry. I never questioned what he was doing in the dream, where he'd been for so long. I had always been afraid he would give me a disease, or more accurately, a condition. He had flourished in his chosen profession, money, slick technologies, first naming the boss. Why come all this way through the black years, if not to make certain amends or for revenge? A hurricane on television named after my grandmother, too dark to see what was happening outside. His throwing knives scattered like caltrops at my feet, constellations of gouges on the basement door. A thin black dog paced ceaselessly back and forth without a sound between us. I had lost intrinsic abilities which I felt were needed to ensure my survival, and skeins of time. He offered reparations. Which organ would I accept as sufficient compensation? Why now? I asked. The ceiling seemed to recede and become transparent as he stared upward. I was someone he could not trust. He'd been in touch with the lizard people, he admitted. Was I one of them? He'd heard me scurrying on dark nights. Now he had nowhere to turn. Family dead, and friends only business acquaintances or expensive escorts. His sister had denounced him to the proper authorities before she passed on, mysteriously blue. His mind was broken. That was how he described it. I would have put it another way. Someone higher up the echelon would have to deal with him. A supreme lizard, I suggested. His phone pinged, and I caught sight of the message. The hotel was on fire and extra fees had been billed. Also, the police sought an interview at his convenience. Something about the dead lizards in his room. He squirmed violently all of a sudden, and a lizard poked its head out of his shirt. "Not now," it said. He pursed his lips at it, and flame spewed from his mouth, which I had not seen before. This had no effect. "Trust in the supreme lizard, and all will be well," it said. "Does she," it pointed at me, "truly believe?" "Not yet, but soon," he replied. "Manifest in your true flesh, Lord." He fell to his knees. Lizards poured from under his coat. I am allergic to lizards. I had not mentioned this during our previous relationship. I spasmed and swore. It would be necessary to seek professional help. The question was, which profession? And how to pay them. The recommended procedure was to arrange catering first, then the legal intervention, then the interment. The hired organizers put out an elaborate buffet, careful to keep the lizards downwind. He melted into the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, FJ. That was excellent. All right, next up is Olivia Cortez. Let me find Lydia in the list.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Crush. My crush was leader of the gang, gorgeous, garrison buckled and belted, his jet leather hair, motorcycle, black, light jacket, pompadour, just the right amount of peak, perfectly falling into an arc in the middle of his fair forehead. Jose Benitez. I snuck him looks all the time whenever I saw him in the street, the hallways of the apartment building where we both lived. Not that he knew it, never let him catch me looking, not that he ever really saw me. Jose Benitez. I was a little kid, una niña muy grande, pero not even 13. He was 16. The girls he liked were tight jeaned, American blonde, his age or older. The girls he liked had gotten their periods, titties. The girls he liked made out, let themselves be touched, felt up, whatever, whenever he wanted, wherever they could, under hot staircases, in alleys, even out in schoolyards, out in the open. They made it with Jose Benitez. When we finally met face to face, me and Jose Benitez, he just had his toe sewn back together after accidentally dropping a knife on it. That's all he was saying about the wound. When we finally met, we went toe to toe, me and Jose Benitez. But I didn't mean to. It was a clumsy mistake, the fault of the older girls, Jose's girls, who thought my crush cute, knowing how much I loved him and suffered in silence, laughing and hissing. They forced me on him, ready or not, down the block. They pulled, dragged, shoved me toward Jose Benitez. Screaming, they said it was time I got over my silly little girly shyness. Meet him face to face, said I should let him know how I felt, or they would let him know that I was available, maybe. They pushed me right into him when we finally met face to face, starry eye to eye, head on, me and Jose Benitez. With my dainty size 9.5 Buster Browns, I severed the thread, dissolving the stitches that were keeping him together. Fuck you, yelled Jose Benitez. I was cursed by Jose Benitez. My first crush was my first love's toe, swaddled in layers of gauze, the toe I so savagely shattered as he stood sexy, unsuspecting of the coming assault, dungareed, long legs loosely straddled over his slim English bike. Oh, Jose Benitez, oh, Jose Benitez, oh, Jose Benitez, oh, I crashed my first crush's toe, and ay, Dios mío, ay, oh, I don't know whose pain was worse, who was more crushed, me or Jose Benitez. All I know, my loss was complete. Nothing could be done to save face, while his foot could still be stitched up to survive my crush.
Wonderful, Lydia. Very vivid. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Scott C. Smith, who has a poem for Pierre.
Hi, everyone. I wrote this poem about 4 years ago. It should be self-explanatory, but it's about the time I became aware of Pierre's work. It's called Tent Coincidence. Last night in the tent, a coincidence. Pierre Joris' Poesis had arrived. I brought it camping and was reading it by the red light in the tent. I opened at random to the work of Alishk and found there Guillaume's poem of pure nothingness. Why would this astound? Because just yesterday I was Googling troubadours. The earliest listed in Wikipedia was William of Aquitaine. Soon I found trobar.org, and among his 44 poems there, decided to read Poem on Nothing. Farai un vers de dreit nine. How, among all the poets, among all their poems, how did Pierre and I get to the same one? And since I had been curious about Mackie's tracing of Bedouin songs into Al-Andalus and then to Provençal, it should not therefore further astound me that Pierre's book on the next page included one for Nate Mackie. Our prey, our prayer, fast gazelle, lithe gazelle. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Scott. All right, and we will close with Donald Wellman. Donald, are you able to unmute?
I unmuted.
Wonderful.
All right, this poem is both a riddle and an homage, and I've written a series of them. I'm going to read P. P. In his Corona poem, stones blossom, and then we argue about monkeys and mannequins, radioactive cosmic wind as I entered the ice cave, time fissure, Zeitenschrunde. I have to wonder how he felt at the philosopher's table after traversing the mountainside wasteland. I share his uneasy frustration. I sought love myself in Ulin's meadow among glimmers leached from an avalanche. Human, motherly warmth can be enough, I thought, if nowhere found, nirgendwo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donald.
Thank you, Donald.
Mark, would you like to tell us about upcoming Lit Balms?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was just about to do. So, next up we have tomorrow, actually, which is a special feature in conjunction with the Arts and Letters Journal from Boston, The Literary Bohemian, Poems and Conversation with Robert Archambault, Amish Trivedi, Penelope Rosemont, and Michael Gregory Stevens, or M.G. Stevens, as he's sometimes known. And on November 28th, we have Daphne Gottlieb, Denise Latour, Laura Mullen, and Mark Spitzer reading for us. So please do join us for those upcoming episodes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, all you guys who showed up, and everyone who read a poem. Thank you, Paul. I see you over there, looking very serious. Thank all of you for joining us on this wonderful night. Also, Cassandra from Australia. So have a great weekend, everybody, and lots of love.
Thanks.
Thank you. Take
Thanks.
good care.
You did a great job.
Thanks, everybody.
Sending everything. That was awesome working with you guys. Really great.
Likewise.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.